Hearing, seeing none. Consent agenda.
Item 1, minutes of the, or no. Is it 1 or A on your guys'
I
agenda?
don't know.
Okay. Sorry. A, minutes of the December 16, 2024 and December 23rd, 2024 council meeting. B, claims. C, appointment of Jeff Clement as fire chief, Mike Ashbagger as first assistant chief, and Kyle Coles as second assistant chief per city code 2.14.020. D, approve Decorah Leader as official newspaper for City of Decorah. E, Class C retail alcohol license renewal with outdoor service and catering, Hotel Winneshiek. F, special Class C retail alcohol license renewal, Mabes Pizza. G, tax abatement remodel at 1309 Mossman Drive, Jason and Stephanie Sinek.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion made by Olson, seconded by Zittergruen. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Olson,
Aye.
Zittergruen,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Misselinich,
Aye.
Chisel,
Aye.
Neal.
Aye.
Motion carried. Consider approval of the Sunflower Discovery pledge of $10,000. Can you give background on that, please?
Yeah, so in fiscal 24, last year, the Sustainability Commission received a request from Sunflower for $50,000, or also considering a 5-year pledge of $10,000 each year for a water display table in the Discovery Center. The commission recommended a $10,000 donation to the council, which was approved. Sunflower was instructed that they would need to request $10,000 annually, that 5-year pledge wasn't something that the commission could do at the time. The Sustainability Commission has received a request for a second $10,000 donation to the Child Care and Discovery Center. The commission has a budget allocation from the electric franchise fee revenues that council's identified it wanted to retain the final authorization of expenditures from, and the commission is recommending the second $10,000 contribution. They believed it fit both since it is a water table that is meant to represent the Upper Iowa watershed, they felt it was both an educational component as well as, since it benefits the Child Care Center as well as the Discovery Center, achieve that goal as well.
Motion to approve the Sunflower Discovery pledge of $10,000.
I'll second.
Motion made by Olson, seconded by Zittergruen. Any discussion?
I have just a couple quick comments. Back when we were considering our allocation out of federal dollars to support this project, I didn't at the time agree with how much we were giving to this project. I thought it was maybe a little more than was, kind of my personal preference on how things would go. But I do think it's important that we honor the spirit of a 5-year pledge. I also think that there's a really direct correlation between an informational water table and the goals of Decorah's sustainability plan. So I think this is a really good project, and in spite of the fact that the city's already been extremely generous supporting Sunflower Child Care in their expansion and new building project, I think this is a project worth supporting.
Any other comments?
I believe they're, $373,000 still short of their financial goal of collecting. So anybody in the community has money laying around they want to donate to, it's a good cause. Thanks.
Roll call.
Olson,
Aye.
Zittergruen,
Aye.
Misselinich,
Aye.
Chisel,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Motion carried. Consider approval of Carco contract for Decorah swimming pool. Can you give the background on that, please?
Yes. So Parks and Rec Department currently uses ACO as its pool chemical vendor that doesn't currently have an operation and maintenance assistant agreement with the city. Current system uses liquid chlorine and other chemicals and supplies that we provide that are provided by ACO. Leftover liquid chlorine at the end of a season cannot be carried over to the next year, and it can be challenging at times to gauge how much is needed near the end. which results in waste. Staff finished the 24 season using Pulsar briquettes from Carico, and the 24 season supplies totaled $18,537.88 for Matco, plus $1,026.50 briquettes from Carico, total of $19,384 and change. Proposed contract with Carico would provide equipment, maintenance, and operations assistance for the full 25 season at a cost of $15,500 for the first year of the annual, $1,000 one-time installation, and a $400 delivery fee for the season. That's $16,900, and the 26 season would be that $15,500 for the annual plus $400 delivery for the season, so $15,900. So financial savings by going with Carico as opposed to ACO. In addition to the cost savings, the Pulsar briquettes are more flexible for use have a longer sustained shelf life. The calcium in the product is easier on the pipes, mechanicals, and patrons. Carico appears to be more customer service oriented based on conversations with staff. They will provide more technical assistance, and 2 of their employees actually run the CPO certified pool operator classes for the state of Iowa. Board of Park Commissioners has reviewed this service contract and does recommend approval.
I'd move for approval of the contract with Carico.
Second.
Motion made by Chisel, seconded by Neal. Further discussion? Roll call?
Chisel,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Zittergruen.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Miscellaneous.
Aye.
Motion carried. Discussion on concepts for Hively Street and College Drive intersection.
Okay, I'm gonna jump to the bolded, stressed section of my background notes first. The concepts shown in the Dropbox, the pictures, are for conversation only. So please don't run on the front page of the newspaper or online, because people don't like, I'm sorry, but people don't like to read the articles right away. They see a picture and it makes them really mad, and they call us, and then we got a lot of explaining to do. So these are for discussion purposes only at this point. Well, I got that out of the way. So as we're nearing completion on the Hively Street bid plans, that far west end, that intersection with College Drive, there's a number of things about, since the bridge runs at a 45-degree angle, as the compass would show, a northeast, southwest compass, it's a 45-degree angle. That intersection with Hively provides its own challenges based on the way it intersects, but also with the bridge right there, there's a number of things that's making a bit challenging. But there's also with addressing some of those challenges, there's possibilities of changes that might result in enhanced traffic flows in that area. So again, there's 3 files in there that are concepts only at this point. What could potentially be implemented might even be a combination of multiple parts of Dropbox. But a couple things to point out would be the stoplight at Hively and College Drive. Traffic numbers at that location they wouldn't reach what's called warranted. So the traffic flows through there do not necessitate a traffic signal. So one consideration might be the potential bagging of those lights. We could do a pilot to permanent where we put bags over those lights, and also install a stop sign at Hively where it intersects with College, making it just a stop there. College Drive is a through. The same could also be done at the 5th Street intersection. Or 5th Avenue, thank you. Yep, 5th Avenue intersection. But some of the other considerations going back to the Hively intersection, there's a left turn lane. Everyone's aware there's a left turn lane as Hively tees into College Drive, which I myself, the only time I've ever used that left turn lane is if I'm going to the Whippy Dip or Decorah Bicycles. Quite frankly, I don't think there's any other use for anybody turning left there than going to one of those two businesses. But what we've done is we've already taken a look at preliminary what some potential changes might be, but also enlisted WHKS to do a 24-hour, right? They're going to do it for 24 hours. They'll install a camera and actually do an automated traffic study where they'll collect the data of who's passing straight through the intersection, who's turning right, left, pedestrian interactions. And so we'll have a further conceptual in the next 2 weeks,
And
right,
they'll
or so.
They'll do it on a school day?
John?
Please make sure they do it on. Okay, because I don't think there's school on like Monday the 22nd, or, I mean, I just watch
20th,
and make
which is-
sure that it's on a school day.
Okay. So I sound like I'm babbling on a lot. There's 3 different concepts in there. Based on what council has seen with those 3, are there things you like, you don't like, things you'd want to test? John, anything you want to throw out there before council starts talking?
Just so the media is aware, WHCAS would be producing a concept later on. in
Could you check
January.
and see if that's on, please?
I'm sorry, what?
Can you check to see if that's on? Tap on it. Okay,
The red light is on.
now, just so it's closer to the,
Just
Be
hold it
closer
closer to you,
to the-
John. Thank you.
All right, I'm sorry, I'm a little hard of hearing, so.
okay, that's okay. That's better.
So, to finish, WHCAS would be producing a more professionally drawn concept statement other than the hand-drawn sketches that were provided in the Dropbox here. And those would be, that would be something usable, I think, in the, for media distribution. So the driving force behind this is a visioning, community visioning study that was put a separated bikeway, walkway on the north side of Hively Street, and we're doing that with the Hively Street improvements. We talked about this in December at the work session there, where we were looking at trying to do something at the intersection with College Drive, and because as the pedestrians come up to that intersection, we need to have them be able to safely negotiate the intersection. That's a primary concern. The secondary concern as well is to make sure that all the vehicles are able to efficiently pass through that intersection. So that's why we're having WHCAS involved with looking at the turning patterns, the traffic volumes, and a number of different things. I sat out there in October during a school day and did a traffic study. I also sat out there at the intersection of River and Hively and did a traffic study out there. But of course, I was only out there for 8 hours during the 4 hours in the morning rush, 4 hours in the afternoon rush. And I learned a lot with the traffic patterns and seeing how vehicles negotiated the intersection. The left turn lane, as Travis alluded to, on Hively Street is very, very lightly used. In the morning 4 hours, there were 0 cars that made use of that. In the afternoon, there was a half dozen or so, and
Going to the Whippy Dip.
possibly, yeah, you know, get your last licks in, right?
Right?
Sure. So it's one of those things where the intersection is there, it functions right now. We don't want to jeopardize any sort of the turning movements, and so that's where WHCAS would be using this service that would put out a camera, take a look at the entire intersection, all the turning movements. They suggested that we do bag the traffic signals for a period of time to see how traffic is able to navigate the intersection if the traffic signals were to be removed. They didn't say they will. It's just one of the options that the city and they have in their toolbox, because like I said, if you look at just a simple chart as far as the traffic volumes and the different legs of the intersection, it's right on the edge of where it would be warranted for having a traffic signal there. So it's an exciting opportunity, and we are looking for ways that we might be able to get pedestrians across that intersection instead of having to make them walk the long way around that particular intersection or go across the bridge to cross College Drive.
Can you state possibly what that might be?
So if you look at option, it'd be the third option in Dropbox, which is 007C. That possibility there shows a possible RRFB, and that stands for Rectangular Rapid Flashing Beacon, which is the thing that is up by the Quick Start, the intersection with Iowa Avenue there. That is pedestrian activated. You walk up, you push the button, it stops traffic from either direction, then you cross. So that way, instead of on a timer that is either a cycle by the traffic signal or camera sensing where the traffic signal indicates it, it's all based on a pedestrian comes up, pushes the button, then they can walk. Right now, there's the bridge not embankment. What's the divider between the traffic portion, vehicle traffic portion, and the pedestrian sidewalk? That concrete barrier that tapers off, it extends roughly halfway through that intersection from the north coming south into the intersection. That's where, as John alluded, anybody that's looking to cross College Drive, that's walking from the north south towards the downtown, they're having to walk past that intersection, then cross east onto Wise Buick's property, well, the right-of-way there next to Wise Buick. And then as part of the Hively reconstruction, we've talked about that 10-foot multi-use trail sidewalk is going to be on the north side. So that would mean we're directing pedestrians past the intersection, cross, then cross again Hively to get back on that 10-foot wide segment to then go east.
So a person would know on concept A and C, I think it is, you could not take a left turn onto College Drive off Hively. You'd have to go around.
No, you can.
Oh,
still
there just
can.
wouldn't be a
It
lane.
there's no lane.
Okay,
that's
so when it says
dedicated to
eliminate
it.
left turn, they means eliminate left turn lane.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that was,
Oh, I
I
see.
didn't,
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm
didn't
like,
understand that either.
I didn't
I
either.
sort of did understand it, and when I got pushed back on it, I'm like, I'm pretty sure they're not proposing that we make left turns. They're not possible. It might take a minute or so for the 4 cars in an afternoon that want to go that way. I've seen another use, and that is people get in that lane by accident sometimes. And so like this would be an improvement for those people's lives, that they would be in the correct lane and could take the right turn they intended to. I'm glad to hear that's still a possibility. I'm sure a lot of other people will be as well. I think this is a conversation, worth the time it's going to take, because this is a really important intersection in the city. It's where the river and the bluffs and a major portion of Decorah's population all pinches together, and they're all trying to use it, and it's a pretty heavily used place. So I think it's good that we're taking time to get this as right as we possibly can. And John, I want to commend you in particular for sitting out in the cold. I saw you a couple times, maybe 4 or 5. You probably know that more than I do, counting traffic, and really appreciate the thoroughness with which staff is approaching this pretty crucial decision for Decorah. I also want to commend your clear statement that we have to prioritize the safety of all road users, whether they're on a bike or a car or a semi or whatever. that we should be prioritizing their safety over almost anything else. That intersection's had a couple accidents in the past 4 years, one of which resulted in a serious injury. This is information you can get on the Iowa DOT website. And, you know, I think a good goal for Decorah is 0 accidents where there's serious injuries. And, you know, obviously that might not be attainable, John. I'm not saying you have to do that or we're all going to be in trouble. But we should do as well as we possibly can towards that. And so I'm really glad to hear the emphasis on user safety. To that end, I think that, you know, to take just one piece out of what you're suggesting, I think the idea of trialing converting the intersection to stop sign controls for Hively, and then opening up College Drive to through traffic without any stoplight, that would be pretty incredible for people who use College Drive and want to go straight or left. I think this is worth trialing. And the important thing about experimenting is, you know, obviously if we do it and traffic piles all the way back up to City Hall on Hively at school time, well, we have to look at it again. But I think that's a great first step to seeing how workable this is.
I appreciate the clarity because, to be quite honest, I thought that it meant there wouldn't be any turning on left.
Well, now you guys got me start second guessing myself. John,
On-
that's correct. Just remove the left turn lane, correct? Like you still
Removal of the
could.
left turn lane. Option 3 talked about putting in a raised island,
Right.
Yeah, and then it just says eliminate left turn, and that's why it's confusing.
and that was to have a
Yes.
slip lane directing traffic right off of Hively onto northbound College Drive. So this is why these are concept drawings. None
Yeah.
of them are set in stone. You're probably going to see a hybrid of 1, 2, or all 3 of these drawings put into what would be the next step moving forward. I should also mention there's a couple of other driving factors in what we're trying to do here. The expansion joints on both ends of the bridge need to be improved, and the approach slabs have settled a little bit. So we're going to take out that bump on both ends of the bridge. We have to do that because we've got to protect our multi-million-dollar bridge structure there, and from damage from snow plows and wheels and so on like that. There's a small damage to the traffic barrier rail, the concrete traffic barrier rail on the north end of the bridge that needs to get repaired too. And the traffic signal controller at that particular intersection on the south end of College Drive Bridge is the oldest one in town, and it's needs to be replaced. We have contingency plans in place if that just gives out completely before this project is done, but it's time for that to be addressed as well. So there's many things that are contributing to the work being done at this location.
I guess I'm still confused about this 7C, concept 3, where it says eliminate left turn. Is the island actually dividing the lanes? Like there'd be a right turn lane on one side and a left turn lane on the other side? Is that why?
So what John's saying is 7C is proposing no left turn
No left turn at
allowed
all? Okay.
At all.
I mean,
7B is not that version.
I mean, I guess
okay,
I
I didn't
see
get
it
that
like,
either.
like Travis was talking about. I mean, I don't see a need to have to come up to that intersection and ever have to turn left. I mean, you're probably gonna get there just as quickly going to Whippy Dip or Decorah Bicycles by, prior to getting here, turning on Mill Street and going up to Water Street and shooting around the corner like that, rather than waiting at this intersection to try to turn left.
And in addition, on net, these investments in the bike lane and connections with the rest of town will be great for both of those businesses in particular. I think this would be a net improvement to both businesses, and that's just one more good thing about fixing this intersection.
How do you,
I was just going to talk about the slip lane proposal because we were invited to, and I'm concerned about the idea, and I guess I'm hearing others in the council saying they don't like it too because it removes the possibility of a left turn there. I don't like it because of how many drivers use slip lanes. I mean, the way that it's tempting to use them. If you see a slip lane, what you do is you drive up, you know, looking to your left as you approach the intersection, And if there's no cars coming, what do? You start driving into it. Well, we're identifying this as a place where we want the entire west side of Decorah to be crossing the street to use a bike lane. It's going to be a really heavily used pedestrian intersection. And so I don't think a slip lane has any place in that kind of intersection, although I'm not the traffic engineer, I'm not. That's my sense. So if there's an argument to the contrary, I'd love to know about it.
Point taken.
Emily.
My-
Emily.
My other question was on with the one with the raised island on there. Will there be enough space in there for like a vehicle pulling a trailer or a long truck or say a school bus or something to be able to make that turn, negotiate that turn
Sure.
with that
That's
island?
that question that I asked WHKS, and they're in the process of looking at that. These are concept drawings.
Right, no, I understand,
And
yeah,
thrown out there
right.
to give a variety of ideas for discussion.
sure.
But that's one of the things, like I told Travis, the intersection functions right now with it being wide open like that for all vehicles. I do not want to see something where we get a problem with something tied up there. And so WHCAS, if you look at the concept drawing number 2, I put on the truck turning template for
Right.
essentially a fire truck or a school bus basically going around that corner. WHCAS will do that too. This is just one quick idea that was thrown out there. But
Emily.
these are, your points that you're making
Would you
are
just
good
raise your
ones,
hand?
and we'll be talking about those as we move forward.
Sure.
I think most of what, as my concerns have been addressed, and there's no point in going through it, because I think these are concept drawings. I am not convinced that we should eliminate a left turn there. I left turn left there, so I'm trying to think when I do, but I know that I do all the time. So I'm like, I think there are others. So I'm anxious to see cameras if we're going to do camera footage for 24 hours. That would be my only, And then Steve said quite a lot of what I was thinking already, so.
Yeah, Emily,
I think-
I just want to apologize for stepping on your comment. I thought the mayor was indicating to me that it was for me to speak, and I realize now she was pointing to you, and I apologize. I
That's
didn't mean
okay.
to talk over you.
That's okay.
I have a question about the pedestrian safety, period. On how does a, pedestrian walk across there safely? Because it's used a lot to be able to go back and forth, go to the dike, go down the Whip Dip or whatever.
Well, it's, College Drive is 43 feet wide, so it's quite it's basically 4 lanes, set up to be 4 lanes there. So you have to make it a way that you can get pedestrians to get across there safely. One of the features of these new traffic signal controllers is that there's a camera, and you can see this on the north side of the intersection there. Up on the street light, there's a kind of a umbrella-shaped object, and that's a camera that looks down onto the intersection, and the software in it, the artificial intelligence, is able to read what the queue of traffic is and so on like that. The newer style of traffic signal controllers actually can pick up pedestrians. So it can recognize them when they're still in the intersection, and it will keep the red lights in place while pedestrians are able to cross the intersection. Now, making sure that we don't, and so I asked WHKS, I said, as we can control or make the turn time for vehicles variable, because you don't need to have 40 seconds for a left turn lane and have all the queues back up onto College Drive. And they said, you're right. But I said, right now you got a 30-second leg for pedestrians crossing College Drive on the Weiss Buick corner there. And, for some people, they can get across swiftly, but for others you can't. And so I'm a little bit concerned about the queue length that would build up on College Drive. And they said, well, one of the things that they can do with the new controllers is that they can have both sets of traffic signals, if we go with traffic signals that are talk to one another, so that you're able to manage those, that queue length and get vehicles to go through there. So it's not like the old traffic signal controllers like you have on Water Street, where you punch in, you know, the times that the bulbs are supposed to change color and so on like this. This is much more advanced, where you actually have a camera and some software interpreting how many cars are stacked up there, and they change the signal timing based on that. Yeah.
This is that
You gotta-
conversation we had around the artificial intelligence policy. We're getting there. We're getting there.
So
Hey.
to answer your question, how do people get across the intersection?
Yes.
You know, right now, they either go the long way at the south intersection, or they have to cross the bridge to cross.
But they press a button that stops and puts up.
There
and
is,
walk to-
there is the possibility of putting a push button on there to cross if the traffic signals are there. It's also the possibility where the traffic signal camera picks up the pedestrians standing in the crosswalk and recognizes them. If they go away with the traffic signals and go with the RRFB, the rectangular rapid flashing beacons, they, then yes, there would be a push button there that would activate the lights and traffic would stop and people would cross.
Where would the signals be positioned? If you have, this is on the corners just the way it is now, only they'd be a red, so you'd stop, or you just wouldn't have them there?
Well, that's to be determined, I
Okay.
guess, whether or not I would not anticipate any changes to the poles or the mast arms. We might
Gotcha.
change the position of the signal heads a little bit
Okay,
if the traffic signals remain. If they're not warranted and it works better to have a stop sign controlled intersection, that's a whole nother discussion.
gotcha.
I'm, you know, the more I think about it, the more excited I am and hopeful that it works, of a stop sign controlled intersection there, in addition to the cost savings, which aren't nothing. I mean, an AI camera controlled stoplight that talks to another stoplight a couple blocks away, that doesn't sound cheap to me. In addition to the sort of the cost savings, I could imagine that really doing wonders for addressing any issues that people still have with queuing going north on College towards Luther. That if there's no stop sign at the end of the bridge, that's one less thing stopping traffic that's trying to head into town. So I'm intrigued by the idea, and I hope that we do trial it.
What was the idea, John, of the raised island, rather than just using like paint to direct lanes and things like that, as opposed to having the raised island?
That really wasn't discussed. It was conceptual, something that the traffic engineer put together an hour before our meeting, and
Okay.
we just quickly talked about it.
Okay.
Are there ways of shorting the crossing distance? You said it was like 47 feet across. Are there
43-ish.
pedestrian bump outs that wouldn't interfere with turning trucks?
I don't know that I would do bump outs from the snow clearing perspective. You can possibly look at doing something with painted lines and directing lanes of traffic and so on like that. I don't, because of, well, for various different reasons, I don't know that that would be an appropriate location to put bump outs.
I'd love to hear the reasons.
Truck turning radiuses would be one. Two would be snow removal. It would work for pedestrians, but, and I want to make the crossing there as safe as possible for pedestrians, but of the 5,000 vehicles or so that I counted going through that intersection during my morning and afternoon traffic study, there were a handful of pedestrians. There was quite a large number of people I considered large, roughly 20 per hour, following the stream of traffic of College Drive, but not crossing the intersection. In the morning, users, the number of pedestrians crossing that intersection weren't heavy enough, I don't believe, to warrant putting in a bump out there. And we need to make sure that the larger vehicles can, that transit that intersection. The afternoon traffic pattern was different, and some of that actually had to do with the high school and their usage of it, where the cross-country teams would go in groups of 4 to 8 people, along with a coach on a bicycle and so on like that, and they would use the push buttons there. There was more pedestrians crossing that intersection in the afternoon than there were in the morning, but those first 2 items there, I think, would be the most important reasons for not trying to put bump outs into the College Drive intersection.
For those reasons, do you think that other bump outs in the community were a mistake?
No, I think that they work in select locations. That it's where you have turning traffic. If you think about, for instance, on the corner by Decorah Lutheran Church, there was bump outs that were put there. It does help the pedestrians to be able to cross that intersection. But if you remember, when they were first installed, the buses were running up that corner pretty badly. And so you need to be very mindful of what turning radiuses there are for large vehicles than there are for cars. And they're at that particular intersection, because there is not a alternate route for Locust Road for semi-traffic right now. There are, I counted a number of, I want to say 4 to 6 articulated semi-truck trailers driving down College Drive, making that corner and using Hively Street, so they didn't have to, and then turning at the movie theater to go up Mechanic Street, so that they wouldn't have to make that corner by Mechanic Street, and it's a tough corner there for them to make that corner.
Yeah, I agree with you that we need to make it possible for semis to navigate that intersection. I just don't think we should make it easy at the expense of safety for other users. And professional drivers are skilled at navigating intersections where they have to be careful and slow down and maybe use a little bit of the opposite lane sometimes. I want to note, just for the public, that a few school buses driving up on the curb was certainly not every school bus driver. It was a couple of them, and they've since stopped. So I don't think that was due to a design change. I think that people kind of learned, and I suspect they would learn their way around a tighter intersection here as well. I just hope that we're not so eager to build it safely for the sake of, we're not so eager to build it so it can smoothly accommodate large vehicles turning that we neglect in any way possible the safety of other people. That's important to me.
I want to also give time for the other 3 council people. They'd like, have any comments or?
Yeah, a lot of the stuff that I was thinking about has already been spoken to in length, so that's kind of been, I haven't really chimed in. The concept 3, I like it. I'm curious about bagging the lights too, to see what happens and make those the stop sign on 5th and Hively. I'll be curious on what effect that has. So I'm definitely for testing different things out to see what works the best in that area. And then also, I would like that left turn there. That's just.
Okay, because I was going to ask you that, because you said you like concept 3, but you.
Yeah, for the most part,
Okay.
Obviously eliminate the left turn thing there. And I do think a lot of people don't necessarily use that left lane that are from here. Some do. But we do get a lot of visitors and a lot of people from out of town that'll end up there, be like, hey, I want to go that way. And pushing them over to the west side of town for them to figure out how to turn around to get back might not be the best idea, but that's my opinion on that.
Yeah, I feel like if you miss Mill, is that Mill there?
Yeah.
If you're trying to get downtown from school and you miss Mill, then if you didn't have that left turn there, you would be all the way on the west side. And
for somebody that, is from out of town that comes here, our town's not built in a traditional grid square like a lot of towns are in our area, so having that option to take a left to get back downtown would be beneficial.
Christopher or Randy?
Well, I've been looking at these, I keep going back to concept A, which is pretty much the way it sits now, except you're gonna have a crossing on the north side of the intersection also, which works. I mean, there used to be one before that wall was put in. I'm not real thrilled about having straight-through traffic on College Drive, because I can see people coming up Mill Street or Mechanic and getting on, and if you don't realize that, you're gonna get stuck on Hively Street, because there's just gonna be a constant flow of traffic there. And I know that does back up pretty good after school or after ball games, Hively Street, and then people do zip around because it's a lot quicker. That left turn lane is important, because if you're following one of these things and you miss Mill Street when you're coming up Hively because of how it hides behind the museum, you come up to the next one, it'll automatically correct you to turn left onto College Drive, and being a river town, our roads aren't straight or in a grid pattern. I mean, that's just the nature of the beast. But to make pedestrian crossings safer, if you have an all-stop with red lights and no right turn on red coming off Hively, that might be your solution for your safety side of it, Steve. And if you got the smart lights or whatever, that you're talking about that can empty these lanes coordinatedly, I think that would be a good concept to look at. I'm not saying jump on it, but we should take a serious look at that, because that might be, because it is such a short span where we have three lanes, or 3.5 lanes, if you want to call them that. And if you're going to start adding bicycles in there, we need to have some way to control them with stoplights rather than just a thoroughfare for vehicles to drive through.
Christopher?
Yeah, so throughout this discussion, most of my, questions or concerns were addressed as we discussed. My biggest thing too was, as Brent mentioned, and I believe a few other people mentioned, maybe having that kind of trial of, you do to bag the lights or put the stoplight up and just see how that goes. Because I feel like at the end of the day, you're really, truly not going to know how a concept works unless you can try it to an extent to see how things flow out. Other than that, I also personally feel like not eliminating that left lane, just in the sense that I feel like overall there could be a little complication of change, especially like if, I know personally, to Emily's point, I do use that left lane a lot. So if it disappears, I feel like, it's the same concept. I will openly admit that when further up, when you went from a 3-lane, or not a 3-lane, from a 4-lane to a 3-lane, there's times when I'm going across that 4-way intersection, like where Casey's is to come down, that I find myself not in the right lane because they don't line up all the way. So I just, biggest thing, I feel like that could, cause some confusion if you get rid of that right away too. So, but other than that, I don't have anything else.
I had a question based on what Randy said. My assumption is that Hively backs up because of the light. And then if there wasn't a light, there'd be a smooth left turn there, because most of the time smooth right turn, thank you. A smooth right turn, because I would assume that happens during school hours when there aren't a lot of people coming around the other turn, and so it's just Hively Street trying to empty out onto College Drive, and then the light turns and then it backs up.
When I was out there doing the traffic study in October, the Hively Street right turn lane going north onto College Drive did back up just after school let out.
And that was because of the light or because of so much traffic on College?
Combination of the two.
Okay.
And that traffic jam cycle was limited to 10 to 15 minutes. There was time when people were inconvenienced there for a couple of minutes and it's probably very similar to the inconvenience that people experience at the intersection of State and Water, queuing up on State Street after school lets out. It's a similar length of time for that type of thing. All the rest of the times, the queue length on Hively Street turning right and going north on College Drive, 1, 2, 3 vehicles at a time. There was not a significant queue.
Okay.
That was the only time that I saw it, but there may be other times, on other days that I'm not out there.
I have just two quick things to say, and Mayor, I know I'm passionate about this. I never expected I'd be this passionate about intersections when I ran for council, but I truly do think this is one of the most important things city governments do, and I think that doing it well versus poorly is the difference between bloodshed happening or not, between a city where people get around safely and efficiently or not. So I think it's worth it. So I guess kind of 2 points I want to make as you're working on this, and they are that I hope that we don't plan for a really limited window, which is 20 minutes after school lets out 180 days a year. I think that that we should know that that's the exception, and that obviously there's occasionally going to be backups during periods of exceptionally heavy usage. That's part of living in a vital community, that there's occasionally traffic. Traffic is a good sign because it means a lot of people want to be here and go to school here and use our services and live here and work here. So I hope we don't think that our prime goal has to be making sure no one ever waits for more than 30 seconds at an intersection or whatever. Our prime goal has to be more important than that. And the other one is, to your comment, John, about your traffic count not seeing a lot of pedestrians in October. I'm certain, obviously, there are warm days in October where you might have gotten a very different result. I remember you were pretty bundled up. But also, I wonder how many people weren't pedestrians because of the way our streets are currently designed. We have no way of knowing how many people who chose to drive to school or to town and back otherwise would have gotten there a different way if we made it safe and easy. And I'll tell you, as someone who crosses that intersection on bike and foot, as much as I would wager almost anyone in this community, it does not feel safe and it's not easy. And when I take my kids, I'm terrified, but I'm careful. I'd love to have intersections so safe, like what we've done on College, crossing to Quick Star with the rapid beacons, that I feel just as safe about sending my kids to cross the intersection just south of the bridge as I do sending them across to Quick Star now. And so for me, the fact that there aren't a lot of pedestrians using it currently, I really hope we don't let that control our future plan.
I think that's why we're bringing this up, is because we do anticipate an increase in volume of pedestrian traffic, particularly when we install that walkway, bikeway, separated lane on the north side of Hively Street. And with the improvements that we'd be looking at also doing at the Fifth Avenue intersection, making the College connected to the downtown using the Hively corridor, and then they can branch off and go into the downtown area. So yes, I fully expect that there's going to be more pedestrians, and I suspect that there would be potentially more school-age kids. The whole intersection has the potential of changing some, so we got to look at all the facets. I mean,
Yeah, and I hear you thinking about that. I'm not implying you're not. I'm encouraging all of us to remember that we shouldn't design our streets for current users, but for the users that would be if we design them well. And I appreciate that you're working hard on this.
I think it'll be great to hear back from WHKS when they do the survey. We've had a pretty good discussion also, and we can look forward to discussing more before they figure out which way to go with it.
Sure.
So to wrap up, I think it sounds
Good.
like, John, we're waiting until the conceptual from WHKS based on some of this conversation tonight comes back before bagging, or are we looking to potentially test bag
I think
ahead?
we'd be potentially looking to go either direction. And what I think I would do is asked WHCAS what they would want to do. I think that they would want to have their camera get out there before the bagging occurs, and I don't know the time frame for what that would be. I think that they would want to see the both the camera, the effect of camera, and the effect of the bagging before they make their final decision as far as the concept goes. And I can't speak for them what their timing is on that, but I can let you know, Travis, once I know more.
But safe to say, not within the next 2 weeks before the next council meeting that we'll bag them? I'm thinking largely for, well, one, so I'm hearing a majority of council members saying we want to bag and test the Hively Street intersection. I'm hearing mixed results or mixed thoughts at best on the Fifth Avenue intersection. We haven't talked a lot about that one, but that's another potential. So nothing test run on that one.
Do you want to test run them at the same time? Like, do you
Well,
want
that's
to?
just it. If there's an interest on both, I don't think you want to try and test one and then the other, not launch them simultaneously. I think you'd want to do it simultaneously, right?
Is there ever a scenario where you would want to bag one and not the other? I mean,
If we thought the Fifth Avenue intersection was, you know what, that's one based on the vehicle traffic entering off Fifth, which is going to be Fifth Avenue's traffic counts are higher than Hively's traffic counts, if I remember right. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
The traffic counts there, College Drive is the main, leg of that, and Hively Street has more traffic actually than Fifth Avenue, but it's, interestingly enough, the traffic on the north side of College Drive is higher than the south side of College Drive because of that Hively effect like that.
Okay.
So, Travis, I guess if you're wanting to pump the brakes on bagging the signals, what I would do is I would want to ask the traffic engineers at WHCAS what kind of timing that they would want for seeing these various different efforts to occur, rather than having me try to stand on my feet and answer what the timing of that would be right now.
And that's fine. I don't want to, I'm not trying to pump the brakes on the launch of it. I just want to make sure that the media is well aware so we can educate drivers, because people don't always react rationally to when I come up and there's a bag on the stoplight. Even though there might be a bright red stop sign right here, I'm used to seeing the stoplight right here. What do I do now?
So
I just want to make sure an educational effort can be made before the launch.
Sure. So, I think we could probably put out a press release to that effect without having to make a decision here on the spot tonight. The reason I'm hesitating is that WHCAS was trying to move along their concepts so that we could get to a design and eventually bid this thing so that it could be done, the work could be done concurrently with the rest of Hively Street.
Right.
Can,
And so if I'm waiting for the cycles of council meetings for that decision, I'm not sure exactly how, we talked specifically about bagging the lights at Hively Street. We didn't talk extensively about bagging the lights at the Fifth Avenue intersection. So I just don't want to stick my neck out too far and put out an answer without consulting the traffic engineers from WHCAS.
So,
Can we put out a press release as far as when that would occur, if it's acceptable with the council?
we will.
I have an idea. Well, it sounds like to me, and maybe it's that first WHKS wants to see it as it is now, right? They're going to put a camera there as it is now, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what if we put a camera there, bag Hively, they video that, right, however long they want, and then we bag Fifth Avenue, and then we have a picture of the whole thing, and they've had us, so we do it succinct, you know, we don't do it all at once, because they probably want to know what effect each thing has. So does it make sense to
Fewer
do this?
variables you can control.
Yeah, so just try one variable at a time.
Mhm.
And so why don't we just put out a public notice that says, this is the project that we're trying to research, and these things will happen, but not all at the same, you know, like, so it'll be first the cameras, then the bagging, then the next bagging. That make sense?
Yeah, arguably better, because you can control one variable at a time that way.
Right.
I just want to be sure that there is a traffic study that's recent for the College and Fifth intersection, right?
College and Fifth is
Yeah.
as far
We're
south
not-
as it went.
We're not
Yeah.
asking WHCAS to redo that unless we make a change to that intersection, right?
So, correct, we're not commissioning a full traffic study. Want to be clear about this. What we're asking WHKS to do is set up a camera, count the traffic pattern. They're not providing analysis of impacts of additional changes in the area, anything like that. Just count the traffic and tell us what that warrants, essentially.
I was thinking that if we want to know what happens if we take the lights out on Fifth. So we would just be, they're already doing it then, we wouldn't try to do it all at once. I don't think we should do it all at once.
Sound rational?
Sounds rational, and I'll talk with the traffic signals engineers at WHGS, and we'll come up with a game plan.
Very good.
So I'm hearing majority of council on board with Hively. We'll reconvene and discuss further once we get that implemented. Sound good?
That sounds great. Thank you. Appreciate the discussion. Discussion and possible action on discussion invitation with state elected officials.
Yeah, so this was kind of left hanging out there after the last council meeting where we talked about inviting Senator Clemish and Representative Bergen to have a conversation with the council on the next legislative session.
Budget.
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 And my understanding was at least legislative impacts and things that, because as Mayor Borowski, who was at the Upper Explorer Land Forum, heard as well, it's very much a conversation in Des Moines right now, and they don't convene until Wednesday officially. So we know property taxes are going to be an item of discussion again this year. Council had talked about a potential invitation, but they are in session Monday through Thursday until they adjourn. So any potential joint work session, if you will, or not joint, they don't have to post an agenda, but any work session of this group that would include an invitation to them would have to be either virtual, if it's during that time frame, or would have to be on Friday night or potentially Saturday morning, maybe somewhere in there. I've been to talked a little bit at the department head meeting this morning that my previous roles, I've been in areas that have standing legislative breakfasts, essentially, where it's, you know, reoccurring. Maybe it's every 2 weeks the legislators are present and you can come talk to them about things that are ongoing in Des Moines, where I don't know that we have anything like that around here. So maybe we could at least get something together. Typically, these are done through a separate organization. Maybe it's the Chamber of Commerce hosts it, or I'm not throwing it out there that we need to ask the Chamber of Commerce to host. I'm just using that as an example. As a lot of times it's usually a third party, so it doesn't give, well, it's just usually hosted by a third party. I'll leave it at that.
Are you looking at something in the next couple of weeks then, I assume? Yeah.
Well, that's up to
Yeah.
council. Do you guys want me to try and coordinate something with Senator Clemish and Representative Bergen? Again, knowing that's probably going to be our time constraints, that would either have to be, well, they are back in Thursday nights, so it could be Friday during the day. But I know that puts certainly one council member, usually 2 or 3, that wouldn't be able to attend a Friday during the day. But that could be an option as well.
I'm open to whenever some of the people with more constraints than I have would be able to make it, because I want to get as many people there as possible.
I guess I'd be interested in either a Zoom prior to, I don't know what time they're done with session on Mondays, but I'm okay with a virtual on the 20th. I mean, I wouldn't want to do it during our budget meeting, and we have a lot of meetings already this month. Or I'm fine also with a Saturday morning, Friday night too.
20th is Martin Luther King Day, so,
So is our council meeting on Tuesday the 21st?
yeah, council meeting is 21st, just so everyone's aware, but
So could you still hold that on that day then?
could. There's nothing that
I didn't-
prohibits
I
it
didn't
be
know.
essentially a special
they're
work
willing
session.
to make
No,
it
we
on
shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should not do that.
No.
Do they do Saturday, I mean, in the past, our
They used to.
representatives have done Saturday morning meetings, where the public can come in, would you be able to contact them and see if they're planning to do that, and maybe we could have a 30-minute talk beforehand with council questions, and then we can meld into the crowd, and the crowd can ask them their questions?
Yeah, if council's open to a Saturday morning, that is the one that I thought would probably work best, is a Saturday morning. It's pretty common for legislators, that's what they do. That sound,
I think
I'm open to
that'd
that,
be a
yep.
good idea.
Like the 18th or 25th?
sure.
That sounds great.
Yeah, I've got great availability Saturdays.
Yeah, if council members, if you could please, send me an email, let me know if there's certain Saturday mornings that do not work for you. If I don't hear back, I'll assume you have an availability like Kirsten's and you're wide open.
Well, it might
I can
be-
tell you that Saturday the 18th is my only Saturday during the day that I have available.
Okay. All right, I will reach out to both of them, ask specifically for the 18th, but if not available, I'll get some alternative
And I
dates
might be
from
able
them as
to
well.
swing something else, but that's just a rock solid for me.
Sounds good.
Okay. City manager report?
Oh, we are full swing of budget as well as everything else we've got going on in town. So I will apologize both retroactively and in advance for any emails that have a delayed response from my end or phone calls that don't, that aren't returned exactly most expeditiously, but please bear with us. That's all I have.
Carrie?
I just wanted to mention, I'm sure you've noticed that it doesn't seem like we have as many alcohol licenses that we're approving. That is because quite a few of the locals are doing the automatic renewal, and so then council really doesn't have a place to authorize. So what I have been doing is once I get that notification, I have been reaching out to Chief Tyne to see if they've had any issues. And then if there ever becomes one, then I'll go down that lane to see if there's anything that we can do, but that's why we're seeing less and less on the agenda.
Okay. Kirsten?
Just one thing, we have a special election for city council office tomorrow, is the last day, or the actual day of voting, so please, if you have not voted, please get out and vote. I think we only had 21% or something like that vote on the December 10th election, so let's see if we can get a few more people excited to go out and vote.
Steve?
I just have a few more comments on intersections. That's a joke.
Is it really a
Yeah, it really is.
Okay,
Although I'm willing
thank
to talk to anyone for any length of time after the meeting. I do want to call out from the consent agenda the reappointments of Jeff and Mike and Kyle. It's in the consent agenda because it's not, something we're going to have big questions about, but it is really important. And I am extremely grateful to them and to the fire department. So I just wanted to note that that's important things that are happening on our behalf. So thank you.
Thank you. Randy?
No, I don't have anything other than fire department. The tickets are available for the gala.
Yes, that's right. And they're online this year. You
Yes.
go online.
What's the
If
date
you-
of the gala?
February
The-
7th.
Yep, February 7th. But if you can't do it online, call down and somebody from the fire department will
Can't
help.
go, you can still buy tickets.
Yeah, that's right. Emily?
I am having a open community listening session, conversation, and coffee at Impact this Saturday at Saturday, January 11th at 10 a.m. And that'll be at Impact. It's open to the public, and it's me on behalf of me as a council person speaking, not on behalf of council.
And did you say that's this
It's
Saturday?
coming this Saturday, January 11th, 10 a.m. Coffee and conversation upstairs at Impact.
Okay. Christopher?
Nothing tonight.
Brent?
I had three things. One was to call out Jeff, Mike, and Kyle for their being reappointed. My house is ever on fire. Those three guys would be the guys I want to come lead the way. The next one was also the tickets for the fire department and voting tomorrow. So they were all talked about already.
Kirsten and I had been working on the public comment guidelines, and I sent them on to Travis. My question, you know the rules and guidelines? Do we go through that on a regular basis, or can you just add or change, or how does that work?
Yeah, so typically what we've done, I shouldn't say typically, I've only been here through one election cycle, but what I've done is, similar to the goal-setting sessions, we put them that January discussion where it also serves as almost an orientation of new council members and a refresher for all the sitting council members. We do that biannually after a regularly scheduled election,
Okay.
but certainly can have it on there for the second meeting this month.
Okay, that would be great if you would take a look at it,
Mhm.
check and
Yep.
offer some suggestions or whatever. So, okay. Motion to adjourn?
So moved?
Thank you very much. Good discussion.